And so when I hear not just our current president, but his aides, who have a history of calling political opponents vermin, enemies, who need to be targeted, that speaks to a broader problem that we have right now. And something that we're going to have to grapple with, all of us, whether we're Democrats, Republicans, independents. We have to recognize that on both sides, undoubtedly there are people who are extremists and who say things that are contrary to what I believe are America's core values. But I will say that those extreme views were not in my White House. I wasn't embracing them. I wasn't empowering them. I wasn't putting the weight of the United States government behind extremist views. And that is when we have the weight of the United States government behind extremist views, we've got a problem. And so your original question is, are we at an inflection point? We're at an inflection point in the sense that we always have to fight for our democracy. And we have to fight for those values that have made this country the envy of the world. And I often say democracy is not self-executing. It depends on us as citizens, regardless of our political affiliations, to stand up for certain core values, because otherwise we may not have them.
Wow, a lot there to unpack.
That was Barack Obama speaking in Pennsylvania in the aftermath of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, wherein Obama drew the sharpest possible line between responsible governance and what we're witnessing right now under Trump's second term. And look, we all know that there are extremists on both sides of the political spectrum. That's been true throughout history. But here's what Obama is getting at. There is a massive difference between extremists existing in society and extremists being empowered by the federal government itself. There is a difference between fringe voices shouting from the sidelines and fringe voices being handed the microphone by the President of the United States. And that difference, that is exactly what we're living through right now. Because when your attorney general is claiming without evidence that left-wing radicals killed Charlie Kirk before any investigation is complete, when she promises they will be held accountable based purely on political assumptions rather than facts, that's the weight of the US government behind extremist views. When federal charges are expected to be filed based on political ideology rather than evidence, even though the suspect is not cooperating with authorities and police still don't know the motive, that is exactly what Obama is warning about. But it goes so much deeper than just one case. Obama pointed to the Trump administration targeting law firms, for example, that represent ideas that the White House disagrees with, and how they've punished media outlets. Including today, they've just done so with Jimmy Kimmel, where it's been announced that he will be no longer allowed on the air. He said, quote, "That kind of behavior is contrary to the basic compact we have as Americans." He also said that Donald Trump pulled credentials from news organizations, noting, quote, "Imagine if I had pulled Fox News' credentials from the White House press corps. It is unimaginable that the same parties that are now silent would have tolerated behavior like that from me or a whole bunch of my predecessors." And the reality is he's right. Can you imagine the absolute meltdown we would have seen if Obama had barred Fox News from the White House press corps? Republicans would have screamed about tyranny and authoritarianism from every rooftop in America. Hell, they screamed about tyranny and authoritarianism when Obama signed fewer executive orders than Trump already has in this term. And yet now that Trump is doing exactly that to outlets that he doesn't like, the outrage on the right is conspicuously absent. The hypocrisy is staggering, but it's also revealing, because what Obama is exposing here isn't just Trump's authoritarian tendencies, it is the complete collapse of Republican principles. Obama noted, quote, "The guardrails and norms that he and his predecessors abided by in the White House suddenly no longer apply. That makes this a dangerous moment, but here's what makes Obama's comments particularly devastating. He's not making partisan attacks. He specifically acknowledged, quote, people who I ran against. I know John McCain believed it. I know Mitt Romney believed it when he was talking about the president's role in unifying rather than dividing. What I'm describing," Obama said, "is not a Democratic value or a Republican value. It is an American value." And that's the key point here. This isn't about left versus right. This is about whether we're going to have a government that operates within small d democratic norms or one that weaponizes federal power against its political opponents. Obama specifically called out how Trump and his aides have a history of calling political opponents vermin, enemies who need to be targeted, described it as a broader problem that we have right now and something that we're going to have to grapple with, all of us. Think about the language here. Vermin, enemies who need to be targeted. This isn't the language of democratic governance. This is the language of authoritarianism. And when it comes from the highest levels of government, it becomes policy. That's Obama's point. There will always be extreme voices in American politics, but when those extreme voices are given the power of the federal government, when they are empowered by the White House itself, that's when democracy is in danger. Obama described what we're going through right now as a political crisis and noted that the majority of the White House and many Republicans in Congress have demonstrated that they're okay with just breaking the rules, just breaking the system in certain ways. The reality is that in a normal world, Charlie Kirk's death could have or should have been a point at which the entire country recognizes that we are on a dangerous trajectory that will help no one, left, right, and center, and that we should change course. Instead, we are seeing it weaponized for political gain before the investigation is even complete. That's not justice, that is politics. And it's exactly the kind of extremist thinking that Obama is warning about right here. And his warning could not be clearer. Quote, "When we have the weight of the United States government behind extremist views, we've got a problem. We're not just flirting with that problem anymore, we are living it every single day." Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please follow this Facebook page. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. Just go to briantylercohen.com and click up top where it says sign up. It's completely free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you would like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.